On April 3rd, 2022, the WWE will put on the biggest match in WrestleMania history as WWE Champion Brock Lesnar battles Universal Champion Roman Reigns in a blockbuster winner-take-all match. This will mark the third WrestleMania main event between the two and Roman's sixth WrestleMania main event all up. In this video today, I do something which next to no one in the community has done to date. Take my Roman Reigns fanboy hat off and look at this thing critically. And oh boy, you're gonna hear some scathing realities in this one. So, if you enjoy what you hear, or you enjoy Roman Reigns, or you enjoy Brock Lesnar, or you enjoy my deep Australian voice, don't hesitate to hit those like and subscribe buttons. We just hit 7,500 subs the other day on the channel, so hey, we're 3/4 of the way to my big goal of 10,000. Can we get there by WrestleMania? You never know. Please hit the sub button. Nonetheless, the cold hard reality is, at the conclusion of WrestleMania 38, we will either be seeing this or this. And from there, it gets murky. For the sake of the video, let's go with the most realistic likely outcome. Roman wins. Meaning that this is the visual we will see to close WrestleMania 38. What realities and consequences will that have for WWE for the remainder of 2022 going into 2023? Well, that's what I'm here for today. For starters, with Roman holding both world championships, you have a dilemma. Presumably, the WWE's one and only world title would become the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, or whatever funky name Vince McMahon creates for it. Then Roman defends that title against whoever is left for him to feud with. So basically what WWE did with Cena and Orton's Unification from 2013, legit that. If this is the case, it would be safe to assume that the brand split would be done and dusted once and for all. And I guess from there, the question becomes, does WWE keep SmackDown as the A show, where Roman is exclusively and then Raw gets shafted? Surely not, right? Does WWE become like a 2012 to 2015 situation where Raw is the A show, where everything big happens involving Roman Reigns and storyline progression, while SmackDown is genuinely the Raw recap show where nothing worthwhile happens? Surely not, right? Fox is paying too much for that. Or does it become Roman Reigns becoming the sole top star and main attraction on both Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown? That sounds much more like it. I'll get to Roman Reigns' potential opponents in a moment, but first I want to say this. Already the murmurings have begun around the wrestling community that Roman Reigns' run is getting a tad bit stale. Now yes, granted, these are mere murmurings for now. This is not the majority. Most people, myself included, are still enjoying Roman Reigns' title run. But that said, after WrestleMania 38, Roman would have held the Universal Championship for 570 consecutive days. And don't get it twisted, I've said this before and I'll say it again here. Roman's reign, to this point right now, is the greatest title reign of the modern era, with everything taken into consideration. Star power of opponents, storylines, match quality, etc. But I'll get to more in a moment. So let's do a little exercise. You ready? Okay, picture this. It's a random Monday in June 2022. Roman Reigns is 645 days into his championship reign, coming out on Raw in the middle of June, cutting yet another Sacramento. Acknowledge me. I'm your head of the table. I'm your tribal chief. I am WWE. WWE is mine. I run this house promo. Before Paul Heyman attempts to sell everyone on Roman's big blockbuster match with Sheamus, or a rematch with Big E at the throwaway June premium WWE live event. Then, that same Friday in June on SmackDown, Roman Reigns comes out to open that show and goes, Davenport, acknowledge me. I am your head of the table. I am your tribal chief. I am the WWE. WWE is mine. I run this house promo. Before Paul Heyman attempts to sell everyone on that same blockbuster match with Sheamus or Big E or, I don't know, Randy Orton or Matt Riddle at this premium June live event. If that's the direction for WWE with Roman Reigns as the top guy holding both belts, if that's the direction, then I seriously worry that WWE could tarnish the reputation and the legacy of this legendary title run. What has made Roman's Universal Championship reign so awesome? What have been the highlights? It's been the compelling, logical, and gripping storylines. Merely look at how the reign began. An all-time great storyline between Roman Reigns and his cousin Jey Uso. WWE's best storyline of the past 5 years. Or look no further than the WrestleMania 37 story. A logical, compelling saga involving Edge's desperation to achieve his magical moment, Daniel Bryan asserting creative control backstage to get into the main event, and Roman's need to have his true WrestleMania moment. Hell, even the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns feud from January, that was really good storytelling. Hardly anything about Roman Reigns' 540 plus day Universal title reign so far has felt overexposed or repetitive. What I'm saying is that having Roman Reigns 600 days or more into a championship reign, being the only focal point or main event level worthy star worth caring about, and driving his Acknowledge Me act into the ground week in, week out on both Raw and SmackDown, that is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for undoing the legacy of this title run. The legacy of Roman's reign can take a massive hit with this if WWE are not careful. And when are WWE ever careful? Let's be real. When it comes to opponents that are left for Roman, let's look at it this way. Due to how WWE has booked the show around Roman and Brock with this big WrestleMania match, literally no one else on the roster feels credible. Drew McIntyre, WWE's most credible babyface, he spent 4 months feuding with these two clowns. Seth Rollins, WWE's stalwart heel act, got decimated like a schmuck by Brock Lesnar in the Elimination Chamber. Same with AJ Styles. Damian Priest, WWE's fastest rising 40-year-old star, he's been booked so forgettably to start the year, it's not funny. You get the picture. Let's just say the male superstars in WWE are a sponge. In the last few months, WWE has squeezed every ounce of credibility and value out of them, all in the name of making Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns feel like these unbeatable monsters. So now, when Roman Reigns is bouncing between Raw and SmackDown every week in May, cutting Acknowledge Me Green Bay promos, trying to make Shinsuke Nakamura or Matt Riddle sound like a guy who's anything more than a throwaway match at a filler event, when that happens, Roman Reigns will be getting seriously overexposed, and all of that to hype up matches with opponents who everyone in their dog knows, the big dog, everyone in their dog knows Roman Reigns ain't gonna lose to. Okay, for months now, I've held out the ideal that Drew McIntyre is the one to beat Roman Reigns. I stand by that having Drew McIntyre dethrone Roman Reigns at SummerSlam in Wembley Stadium in front of 70,000 screaming European fans, that is the moment. That is how you make Drew McIntyre a true certified main eventer for life guy, and how you end a legendary title reign with a legendary moment. But then there's reality. SummerSlam this year is in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, and WWE are clearly holding out for Bron Breakker to make the leap from NXT to the main roster so that the company can prematurely rush Roman's title onto Bron Breakker and make him the guy. And that's genuinely seeming like the direction. And look, I personally don't have that much of an issue with that as far as Bron Breakker being the guy, but the issue is how far away it is and how there's hardly anything between now and then, okay? As man like Tav so perfectly put in this comment, the problem with Roman's reign is that they've built him up to be virtually unbeatable in a ragtag roster full of misfits that can't beat him. And once he also wins the WWE title, that men's roster is truly going to flatline because they've built no one else up. And that right there sums it up all perfectly. So in conclusion, I am looking forward to watching the big WrestleMania match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. I genuinely am. But with every glamorous tagline and flashy graphic WWE show for this match, lies with it harsh realities and consequences for the company's future.